Welcome to the Wisdom That Breathes channel. Across all our platforms, we try to share wisdom which is relevant and accessible to everyone. But on this particular platform, we go deeper into some of the ancient principles found within the scriptures. If you find some of the terminology difficult or inaccessible, then go over to our Keshava Swami YouTube channel where you'll be able to find other content which is perhaps more relatable. Thank you and enjoy the wisdom that breathes. How we can get more out of life, because there's always more we could be doing and achieving. So we'll just begin with some prayers. We always begin with prayers because we understand that when we come into a spiritual assembly, there are actually messages which are being given which are directly for us. But sometimes we hear so many things and we're kind of looking around in the room thinking, yeah, he needs to hear that. Yeah, maybe he does, but maybe we also need to hear it. Not that I'm some divine being who's now going to reveal to you all the secrets that you need to know. But it's just the facet of when spiritual people come together that there's a divine presence there, which then means that through other people's words, so many messages will come to us. So I hope that will happen for you today, but it means we have to be open-hearted and open-minded. So we'll just say some prayers of gratitude and appreciation to our teachers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki. So we'll have some questions and answers today, but first I want to ask all of you a question. You see, there's different ways in which we learn in this world. One way is we learn through books. One is we learn from other people. Sometimes we learn from classes when we're not falling asleep. Not that any of you are falling asleep. And these are all very powerful ways to learn. But perhaps one of the most powerful ways in which we can learn, which often we don't take advantage of, is our own experience. They say experience is the most persistent, powerful, and present teacher in our life, because every day you go through experiences, and according to the philosophy of the East, nothing happens by chance. Everything that you go through, everything that you experience, the good, the bad and the ugly, all has a lesson to learn. Everything is there for a reason. But we never are able to learn from our experience until and unless we reflect on our experience. Nowadays, people don't have time to reflect on their experience. There's something in social science called the theory of boredom. 50 years ago, people actually got bored. But nowadays, what happens when people get bored? Yes, sir. They pick up a device and there's always something to tantalize their senses. So actually nowadays people don't get bored because there's always something to engage their mind. But the theory of boredom says that 50 years ago when people got bored, it was actually a really good thing. Because when you get bored, there's nothing to do except think. When you get bored, you start thinking about life. And so people actually 50 years ago, they used to actually think about life. And when they used to get bored and actually think about things, it actually used to upgrade their life. But nowadays, there's always something to consume our consciousness, and therefore we never really think. Who am I? Where am I going? What is life teaching me? And that's a shame. So today, I want to ask all of you a question. And I want you to turn to the person next to you or whoever, and just for a few minutes tell me what your answer would be. Or tell your partner, and then we'll come back. And I want you to tell me, if you could turn the clock back 1 year, what would you have done differently? What would you have done differently? If you could have turned the clock back 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, if you can turn the clock back in your life, now in hindsight, looking at how things worked out, what would you have done differently? Don't tell me the obvious things like, oh, to come to Krishna consciousness earlier. No, I'm not interested in that one. I want you to tell me the less obvious things of when you reflect back in your life, what would you have changed that you feel would have made your life better now? We look back in the past not to live in the past, but we have to look back in the past to learn from the past. And so it's a useful exercise. So can I ask you to do that? Just turn to the person next to you. It doesn't matter if you've never seen them before or you don't know them. We're all family here. Go for it. A few minutes. What would you have done differently? You can go in threes if you want. All right. All right, so thank you. It's a good therapy session, huh? Yes, so keep your ears and your heart open. Keep your ears and your heart open, because maybe some of the things that people are going to say are maybe some things that we should think about in our own journey, because we can all improve. And remember, nothing's random. Whatever's being said here, it has some relevance for us, because nothing happens by chance. So anyone want to share with us anything they do differently? It could be a small or a big. Okay, there, Nilambara.
Maharaj, I am a very emotional person, and but recently life has been teaching that I should not be as emotional as I am. So if I could turn the clock back last year or 2 years or 3 years, perhaps I would have made many decisions which I have taken out of emotions. I would have perhaps put some intelligence into it and taken some decisions.
Okay, yeah, certain decisions that we made when we were overcome by emotions. So this is a really, really important point, that in our life there will be decisions, points in which we have to take a direction. And oftentimes what happens is we are impelled more by emotion than intelligence. Therefore, some years ago they used to think that those people who have the highest IQs were the most intelligent, the most successful, were the most prosperous people. But later on they realized you can have IQ, but if you don't have EQ, if you don't know how to manage your emotions, if you don't know how to deal with the intensity of the feelings that come up in our heart, which are often fleeting and transitory, then your intelligence actually gets covered. And so the possibility and the potentiality of making better decisions by being more emotionally balanced. And so it's always good to be aware of that. One thing I also want to say on this is that most of us are not actually very self-aware of our weaknesses and our weak spots. So sometimes it's good to just do some self-reflection and understand what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. And remind yourself always of what your weaknesses are. And therefore then when you navigate through life, to be aware of those situations where your weaknesses may be exposed. Thank you.
But following your emotions, is that bad? I mean, it's the same like follow your heart, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point, yeah. So shall we get into Q&A now? Okay, I'll just give a quick response to that, and then we can go deeper into that. No, emotions are good. Life is, without emotions there's no personality. Without emotions there's no individuality. Without emotion there's no love. There's no relationship. But I think what it means here is when an emotion becomes so intense that it covers your intelligence. So in our being we have two functions, rationality and emotionality. If you have rationality but you don't have emotionality, then you can't experience what we call the rasa, or the kind of, how to explain that in an English word? The juice, the taste, that comes from. And at the same time, if you have emotion but you don't have rationality, then you may go with your emotions, but you may not lead yourself to the place that you eventually want to be. So emotional aspect and rational aspect and they need to be balanced and tempered. Yeah, so that's just the short. All right, yeah. Anyone else? What would you have done differently?
I would have consumed less of internet and used that time for health.
Okay.
The foundation is because of my health. Now I'm struggling with my sadhana. And the root cause is I wasted a lot of time on internet, and which 1 year down the line means nothing.
Yeah. So what we like is encouraged to do in spiritual tradition is to always audit your diet. But your diet doesn't just mean what you're eating. Your diet also means what you're watching. Your diet also means the people that you surround yourself with. Your diet also means the narratives, the messages, the opinions that you're constantly hearing. All of these things are our diet. And they affect our health. They affect our health physically, they affect our health emotionally and mentally. So yeah, very good point. Yeah. Thank you. Someone else? Yeah.
We had the same issues.
Yeah, we had a common thing to look back and
Yeah.
change, and you can go ahead, man.
No, please do.
So yeah, both of us were saying if we did not burn bridges with people and established connections, invested time in following with the people, and made friendships instead of just burning bridges.
Hurting people.
Right,
Yeah.
yes. We give up relationships very, very easily. Just some small altercation, some small miscommunication, misunderstanding, and we're so apt to act very harshly and then just cut relationships. They say every disagreement doesn't have to be an argument. So we can disagree with people, we can have different opinions, perspectives, but there's a whole science of how to deal with differences when we have them in relationships so that they elevate the relationship. So yeah, we burn relationships too quickly, and sometimes we neglect relationships. They say the rarest and cheapest and most heart-touching type of gift you can give someone is your own attention. So to give people time, to give people our conscious attention, that goes such a long way in relationships, and sometimes we just don't give that time. And yes, I think relationships, if you would ask me now, and you would ask me what's the most valuable thing in my life, I think hands down I would say it's my relationships. I think from relationships everything else comes. So I really feel that the wealth of your spiritual life, the wealth of your life, is proportionate to the number of genuine relationships that you have. And those are the things that we often neglect. Yeah, thank you. Nice one. Anyone else? Yeah.
So I went for a good part of this year through a hard depressive phase, and I remember, so the problem was that I was getting mad at myself for not being able to take advantage of the knowledge that I'd acquired through Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, and apply it to see that those difficulties with detachment. So the more I got mad, of course, the more it hurt. And I think I would have been more patient and gentle with myself if you ask me now.
Yeah. Yeah, one mantra that's really helped in my own life is progress over perfection. So sometimes we're so focused on perfection, we're so focused on the ideal, and then we judge ourselves by that we don't even try to progress, we don't even try to take the steps that we can. I think also we have to be kind to ourselves. We shouldn't just see how far away we are from the ideal, but we should also see how far we've come from where we were. What about that? Did we give ourselves credit for that? And when we see things in a balanced way like this, then we can recognize, yeah, I have a long way to go, but we also feel very hopeful, we feel inspired. Because sometimes we are our biggest enemy. We defeat ourselves by getting into this narrative that I can't do it, I'm not able to do it. I like that. Thank you. Nice one. One more? Anyone? Wow, everyone's shy. Yes?
I would have lamented less on the things that I don't have and appreciate more what I do have.
Amazing, yeah. They say the two of the basic problems in our life is we undervalue what we have and we overvalue what we don't have.
Yes.
Imagine if we could just make that one mindset change of not undervaluing what we have and not overvaluing what we don't have. That gratitude, you said that gratitude is the mother of all qualities. So when there's gratitude in someone's life, then actually all other qualities come about. So yeah, definitely just being content and satisfied with things. So like this is a good exercise. You can periodically look back and ask yourself, what can I change? What can I learn? How can I adjust? How can I move forward to make the best of my journey? And not just be on autopilot in life. Because life is valuable, precious. Okay, so that was my question for the day. And I kind of open the floor here and see what questions all of you may have. Perhaps you have some question about philosophy. Perhaps you have some question about the practice of spirituality. Perhaps you have some question about the Hare Krishna movement. Happy to try and share anything I can. So I'll open the floor and see who is the first taker. Okay. Yes.
So this question is pertaining to some of your previous lectures. So you've spoken a lot about journaling and how it's impacted your life. So I want to understand, what is that something that you've achieved through journaling which you wouldn't have achieved without it? So without journaling, you probably would have never ventured that. But with journaling, you achieved that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. Well, I think the kind of exercise that we're doing today, I think if I never had a journal, if I never had somewhere where I was writing my reflections, my observations, my learnings from life, if I never had that kind of place to go to, I don't know if I would spend time thinking about that. And therefore I'm doing this exercise with you because I've seen the power of it in my own life. Like I have now over 25 years of journals, and it's very, very powerful because, you know, sometimes you can just open it and see, what did I write on this day 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And you see all of these lessons that you're learning, all of these, the directions in which life takes, how divinity, Krishna, is intervening in everything that's going on. It all comes alive. And I feel like a journal is a place where you can really come to digest life. That's basically what I see journaling as. It's a place where I come to digest life. So I feel like so many things happen in life. It's like putting food in your body. But then, is it being digested? Is it being reflected upon and understood? And so I think it's helped me in that way. I think another thing it's helped me to do, just because it's in my mind, because Neelambara Prabhu said it, is understand my emotions a lot better. You know, like sometimes it's all going up there in the chaos of your mind, and when you write it down in front of you and you look at it, you're like, what's the problem here? It's not that bad. But when it's all up here, you can't see it. But when it's here and you look at it from a balanced, rational, non-passionate perspective, then you begin to think all the things I get worked up about, all the things that I get bewildered, all the things that are worrying me. So many times I wrote down, like, okay, what are my fears? And then I write it down and put it, okay, this is my fear. And then I look at it in my journal, like, why is this so scary to me? And you actually begin to break it down. You're like, there's no reason to be scared about this. And if you can overcome your fears, then it's a game changer in your life. Because for most people, they're only experiencing 20% of their life because they're overcome by fear. Fear of failure, fear of other people's opinions, fear of the past or the future. So fears are constantly holding us back. So like this very, very powerful, very amazing means to disentangle all the chaos going on up there. Thank you. Yes.
Can I ask one?
Yeah.
I want to know, Maharaj, before you took sannyas, perhaps your reach was a bit less. Also, perhaps would mean that the burden of expectations on you was a bit less. And now that you have a worldwide reach and you have become a sannyasi, and there is so much of so many people might be reaching out to you, and so many people are expressing their heart to you, and there is so much of extra burden of love, of course. You have taken it on behalf of the acharyas and Karuna Maharaj and other gurus. How are you managing it? What do you do exactly? Because so many people perhaps just pour out their heart to you, and maybe in hundreds, maybe thousands. How do you deal with it?
I think, of course, we are doctors. Each one of us are doctors and patients. All of us are helping others in different ways, to different scales. But all of us are patients as well. So every day when I wake up, I always remind myself, first a patient, and then a doctor. And therefore, to always realize that the first person I've got to counsel is myself. The first person I've got to get right is myself. One thing often happens when there's a lot of burden, or not burden, but a lot of people maybe coming to you or something, is you begin to have this inflated conception of yourself that now you are the problem solver. But no, I'm also a patient, and reminding ourselves of that every day is very, very powerful, because it means then every day we make an investment into our own well-being. You can't give what you don't have. You can't take the world to a higher place than what you've reached internally yourself. So I think that's always helps. So yeah, there are times in the year when I disappear and go offline, off the grid. And then today we were talking about Vrindavan, and how in Vrindavan you kind of let all your identities go. You just come there as a beggar, as a soul looking for some grace, for some spiritual strength. And there you become invested. So I think taking that time is really, really important, and that helps us to give more. So everyone should do that. All of you are giving. Some of you are parents, some of you are friends to many people. All of you are giving. So remember, the best thing, you know, there was once a husband and a wife. So the wife said to the husband, what are your priorities? So he said, number 1, the kids. Number 2, you, my wife. And number 3, me. Just wow. So the husband looked at the wife and said, what are your priorities? She said, number 1, me. Number 2, the kids. And that really... Number 3, you. So he was like... And then she said, no. Me, number 1. Because I want to invest in myself, so that when I come and serve the kids, when I come and serve you, then I bring the best of myself to you. So then he was like, okay. So don't also forget to take care of yourself. That's really, really important. Another thing is that if someone comes to me with a problem, I try not to get into the illusion that I'm the one who's going to solve their problem. I have no power to solve people's problems. Who am I? Just an insignificant person. But what I can do is try to genuinely connect them with wisdom, with insights, and try to genuinely give some love and care which will give them some maybe self-hope or self-assurance. But really I realize that I'm not the one solving their problems. The reason why often we get tired and people suffer from things like compassion fatigue, is because they take the burden on themselves that I need to sort this person's, but we can't. But what we can do is try to be an instrument to connect them to something, and then they have to do it. And when you stop taking that burden that you're not meant to take, then you realize, yeah, I'm just an instrument in helping people. When all is said and done, everyone has to walk their own path. And even Krishna says to Arjuna, now I've given you all the knowledge, you think about it, and then you do what you want to do. So we can't control people, we're not meant to control people, and we're not meant to solve everything for people. We're just meant to be kind friends who can help them, connect them to something. But they have to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess these are a couple of things. There could be more, but...
Yes, Maharaj, thank you. So, referring to this point, sometimes we meet people and we have so much compassion with him because so many problems, beggars or whoever, compassion. So, and at a certain moment, we gotta let me talk about myself, and I think, okay, I can have compassion, I want to help this person, but at the same time, this person has his own part, his own responsibility, his own karma. So, where is the balance? Like, how far do we have to go with compassion? On the other hand, realizing that what is happening with this person, it might be something, a product of his karma, or it is his part with Krishna, it's his process. So, you understand what I mean? How far can you go with compassion?
Of course, even when we understand something is someone's karma, everything is karma because nothing happens by chance. But that doesn't stop us from wanting to help them, because ultimately no one should have to experience karma anyway. We should be free from all of that. Sometimes when people misunderstand karma, it makes them heartless. Just kind of look at people and think, well, karma. It's like, okay, I mean, that's not really the teaching of karma, because none of us should be under the law of karma in the first place. So if someone's suffering, then we don't say, okay, they deserve it. No one deserves it. Because we're not meant to be in this situation. So yes, everything is happening under these laws of nature. How much can we help someone? I guess in every situation, you have to judge it. There's a point when you come in a relationship with someone where you realize, like, I've done everything I can. Like, it's now up to that person to take their step and to just be there for when they want to come to you to ask for more help, and not to try to impose yourself again. And you know, so it's like, look for reciprocation. Give. And then when there's reciprocation, then give more. And when there's no reciprocation, then just be there and wait till there is reciprocation, and then give reciprocation, then give more. You understand? Like, so sometimes we go to extremes. Either we just keep giving, trying to force, not looking at the reciprocation, or we give and then there's no reciprocation and then we just cut someone off. So the middle one is just like give, and then wait. And if there's reciprocation and they benefit and it's helping them, give a bit more. And if there's no, then just wait and be patient. You know, everyone has their time when they're ready to hear. Does that help?
Recently, one particular topic that struck me from your lecture was the 5 a.m. club. So
The 5 a.m.
The
club.
5 a.m. club, I think it can be probably a club on its own with branches all over the world. But can you talk about it a little bit more, Maharaj? Because I think when we stay out of a temple atmosphere, it actually becomes, though no matter how many times we hear the importance about it, but it becomes overwhelming to make it a lifestyle to do sadhana at 5 a.m. in the morning. So it just the downstairs track throughout the days, and gradually it becomes a habit, and then we hear about it, but then it just becomes so difficult to maintain a 5 a.m. lifestyle.
So all the tips in terms of how we can wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning or earlier and benefit from those morning hours, which are golden hours, which are so valuable. Well, what to say? There's so many tips we can give you in terms of waking up. But the tips don't work. The tips don't work. Does anyone have a golden tip that we've never heard of for waking up?
Maybe you could elaborate on the golden hours.
Elaborate on the golden hours? Okay, so it said that the sun is the center of all energy in the universe. So there's something about when we rise just before and when we function with the sun. When we wake up in those morning hours, you see in the theology of the Bhagavad Gita, there's 3 energies: goodness, passion, and ignorance. So basically it said the first 8 hours of the day, from midnight to 8 a.m. in the morning, are in goodness. 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., broadly speaking, are passion. And 4 p.m. to 12 midnight is ignorance. So basically what happens is when we wake up in the morning, you're kind of synergizing your life with the movements of nature. Because you wake up at a time in which the atmosphere is in goodness, and that helps you to set the intention for the day. When it comes to the middle hours of the day, you work, because that's passion, that's the time of creation, the time of activity. And when it comes to the evening hours of the day, it's ignorance. So it's the best time to go to sleep and rest your body and disconnect from the world. But people do everything. So they wake up at, 12 p.m. Then they do whatever they can, then they're up till late, then they go to sleep in the morning. It's like all upside down. So now what you're trying to do is you're trying to swim upstream, like against the current. And then it becomes very, very difficult. So when you want to meditate, if you don't meditate in the morning, then it becomes very, very challenging. And when you don't meditate and do mantra chanting, japa in the morning, how will you ever be attentive? And if you don't find attention, how will you ever get attracted? And if you don't get attracted, how will you ever get attached? And that's why people chant for decades. And they say, well, I didn't get anything from it. But how did you chant? With what kind of quality and attention did you chant? Some things are so important. You see, your heart has to reach there. There was once a pilgrim and he was going to walk the peak of a mountain, so he checked into the hotel at the ground base. Anyway, he woke up in the morning and outside there was a snowstorm going on. He just handed in his keys and he went on. And as he was walking out the receptionist said to him, "There's a snowstorm out there. You really think you're going to make it to the peak?" And he looked at the receptionist and said, "My heart has already reached the peak. And therefore, for my body to reach the peak, there's no problem. Because my heart has reached." So the problem is our heart hasn't reached. It hasn't dawned on us the importance of it. We may not be able to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning, but we never fail to clock in at work at 9 a.m. Somehow it hasn't dawned on us that this is important. This is super critical. And therefore, what can we say after we've given all the tips and after we've given all the motivational speeches? The alarm clock goes off. And then it's a decision. and it's a decision you have to make. Truman, the US president, said, I studied the lives of great people, and I found that they won many, many battles in their life, but with all of them, the first battle they won was the battle over their own mind. If you win that battle, every other battle in life is easy. Piece of cake. And the biggest battle with the mind is when the alarm clock goes off. So if you can win that battle, know for sure miracles will happen in your spiritual life. Because it's not just that you're waking up at 5 a.m., but it's that you've won that first battle over the mind. But if you lose that battle, every other battle is going to become unlimitedly more difficult to face. So, you have to develop that love for the morning. But in the beginning it takes some grit. People think of spirituality as something it's romantic, it's full of feelings, I'm not inspired. So that is spirituality. It's all about feeling, it's all about emotion, it's all about, spontaneous inspiration. But shall I tell you what? In the beginning, there's a lot of discipline, there's a lot of duty, and there's a lot of determination that's required. When I joined the monastery, one of the monks, he said to me, when the alarm clock goes off, get up, dress up, and show up. And I was like, did I join a military camp, or a monastery, or military camp? It seemed a little like, but I recognize those values of those words. Now there are some days when the alarm clock goes off and I go, oh God. But nowadays, most days, I have to say, by Krishna's grace, it's like, yeah, let's go. It takes time. But you gotta want it. Do you want it enough? To achieve what other people don't achieve, you have to be ready to do what other people wouldn't do. There's my pep talk for today. Good luck.
I have a follow-up question on that because, how do you then find the balance between wanting to win the battle of your mind versus listening to your bodily needs? Or how do you prevent yourself from controlling?
Yeah, no, by all means, you need to take care of your body, and sometimes the body needs rest. But when you've been in bed for 10 hours and the alarm clock goes off and you're like, but I need to take care of my bodily needs afterward. Then you can begin realizing maybe it's not so much physical, maybe it's more mental. That's why regulation is so important. When you live a regulated lifestyle, then there's less room for the mind to convince you against doing something. So if you go to sleep, like in spiritual culture, you do everything at the same time. Did you know time carries memory and location carries energy? If you do something at the same time every day, there's just a certain memory. It's just like you just do it. And location carries an energy. So certain locations, when you enter it, it just gives you a certain energy. So if we're wise, then what we do is we create a lifestyle where we do the same things at the same time. Because then what happens is your body just adjusts to it. It's just like... But when we live an unregulated lifestyle, then the mind comes out with all kinds of excuses. But when you're going to sleep every single day at 9 o'clock and you're waking up at 3 o'clock and you've done it for the last 7 days, or whatever it may be, then it's like there's less room for the mind to say, well, I don't know if this is so, but I do this every day. Does that make sense? So, yeah, so by all means, like we're not asking, like yesterday I made that point. Prabhupada said, if you sleep too much, you become lazy, and if you sleep too little, you become crazy. So don't become lazy, don't become crazy, like have enough sleep, like whatever is required. But if oversleeping, if sleeping is more exciting than waking up, actually what it reveals is that there's something seriously wrong with our life. When not doing anything is more exciting than doing something, it means what you're doing in life is just not good enough. And that's the basic problem. The best alarm clock in the world is purpose. Because when your alarm clock goes off and you have purpose, you will jump out of bed. But what happens is when our life is like kind of just mediocre, then we're kind of like, okay, I'll just lie. It's such a waste of time. You see, anyone who achieved anything great in the world, they never slept that much. It's a common theme. I wish I had my laptop. I could show you the schedules of the 20 most creative people in the world, their daily schedules. And practically with 90% of them, they didn't sleep much and they woke up very early. It's just like, this is it. It's like what people do. So I tell people, when you wake up, you double your energy, you triple your productivity, and you quadruple your creativity. If you want to expand your energy, your productivity, and your creativity, just get up in the morning. It's powerful. So it is. The 5 a.m. club. That's a good Instagram reel. 5 a.m. club. Yeah, it's like, yeah, anyway.
Maybe last one because
oh, last one, okay. Sure. Okay, sure. Then we have to sing Dharma Rastakam, yeah. So I don't know, you're saying last one and there's 3 hands. So what do I do?
Okay, three.
Okay, I'll go quick. Yeah.
How to do when you work at evening or night?
How to do it when you work at evening or night. Get a new job. Yeah, we have limitations. What can we say? If you go to sleep at 2 o'clock, we're not expecting you to join the 5 a.m. club. So you have to be practical. Do the best you can. Eventually life is short, so try to get into a life schedule where you can be in those hours, you know. Maybe there's an opportunity to give someone else the night shift and you can do the day shift. Try. It all starts with desire. You have to try. You see, what can I say? At the end of the day, life is passing us by. At the end of life, no one sits on their deathbed saying, I wish I worked longer hours. Really, I wish I would have, you know. We have to survive in this world. We need to have a job. But when that becomes an impediment to our real business here, we have some real business to do here. We have spiritual awakening. Life is meant for that. So eventually we have to try to engineer our life in such a way that it seamlessly facilitates our spiritual desires. So try. The morning is important. But, you know, tomorrow don't just hand in your resignation and do anything kamikaze like that. But maybe think about how you can make that adjustment, because time is going.
Can you say something more about the point of strong desire?
Can I say something about strong desire? Yes.
Because if you have a desire, you can. Krishna fulfills strong desires. So if she has a strong desire to work daytime, it might be that because the desire is strong and
that's
sincere,
a good point. Yeah.
Krishna will lead her.
It all begins. Have a desire, and then try and see how you can adjust. Yeah, the world is moving on desire, attitude, and.
So,
good luck. So yeah, try your best. And if you can't, because you have work and it's inescapable, don't worry. Krishna knows. Krishna is a kind person. He's not going to be like at the end of life there with like a register. No, you cannot go in. You weren't on the 5 a.m. club register. You were absent. No, he sees your heart. He sees you're trying. And so he's very kind. Krishna is not a religious fanatic. He's a nice guy, if I can say that. So he's very kind. But you have to try your best. Okay, yeah.
So I was reflecting on the points of Baba, and one was being without pride, and I was going through my experiences. And then I was reading some verses, and then on Narada Bhakti Sutra, he explains that we should feel pride with regards only to the Lord. What does it mean?
Yeah, so we say that we should be prideless, and then it's mentioned that we should have a transcendental pride that I'm connected to Krishna, I'm connected to this amazing line of teachers. That's a transcendental pride. We're proud to be connected to Srila Prabhupada. No, don't be proud. No, when we talk about that kind of pride, then we're talking about a type of pride which is based on our abilities, our identities, our facilities. I'm proud because I have this. I'm proud because I've achieved this. I'm proud. So that's material pride. But there's a type of spiritual pride where one feels like, I'm so insignificant, I'm so small, who am I? But somehow or other I got connected. There's amazing opportunity. I feel so proud. That's because then it's not about you, it's about connection. So most of the time it's about us. That's the problem. They say in the first 20 years of your life, you're very concerned what people think about you. In the second 20 years of your life, you don't care what people think about you anymore. And in the third 20 years of your life, you realize no one was thinking about you anymore. So we have this kind of sense, like we're like, oh, everyone's looking at me, everyone's thinking of me. That's a pride, like we feel we're the center of it all. So transcendental pride is nice. Okay, last one.
Can I take a last question?
Yes.
Okay, so just to give you a context, this question is coming from the essence of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says you have to choose your work based on your nature. Like, you have to choose the work based on your nature, yeah. But do you think right now, the way we are going, I think we're not doing that. I think, I'm sure most of us are going behind science and technology and choosing the jobs which are most high paid. So, we're not working based on our nature. So can we have a paradigm shift there? And how do we choose jobs and assess ourselves rightly based on our nature, which is not even detrimental to our devotional service as well? So I need an answer for that. I need an answer.
You need an answer for that.
Please, can you?
Each one of us have a dharma. Dharma means your essence, your purpose. We have a spiritual, a Sanatan Dharma, which is an ultimate purpose to get back to the spiritual world. But we also have a Svadharma, which means a purpose in this world. Some of us are meant to be teachers, some of us are meant to earn money, some of us are meant to take care of children. Each one of us have a different Dharma. So the basic problem in the world is that people either do someone else's Dharma, or what they do is they do the thing in their life which gives them money or security or all that kind of stuff. So therefore you find 99% of people in the world are like totally miserable about their job. But because it gives them money, it's like, we just do it anyway. But when you live in your Dharma, basically the formula of Dharma is this. You have to find what you're good at, what you like doing, and what can earn you a living, and what can then be used as a service to the world. Now, if you manage to do something in the world which ticks all four of those boxes, then you're going to be in complete flow state. I mean, just to use modern terminology. Krishna doesn't talk about the flow state, but he talks about living in your Dharma. So you got the four. What are you good at? What do you like doing? Because sometimes you can be good at something but you hate it. Yeah. And sometimes you can like doing something but you're just like, I love to sing. Sorry, you can't. That's me. So what you're good at, what you really like doing, what you can earn a living from, and what you can use to make a contribution to make people's lives and make the world a better place. That's important. Because even if you do the other three things, but you don't use it in service, then you can't be truly said to be in your Dharma, because Dharma is never selfish. So someone could be like really good at something, they could be really enjoy it, and they could be earning $1 million from it, but they're still not in their Dharma, because if they're just using it to buy 2 houses, 2 phones, 2 cars, too much, then that's not Dharma. So you have to try. There's something called Ikigai. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Right. So you have, that's basically what, isn't that, it's a different way of putting what Krishna says in the Gita. And we copy someone else's life. So even when we know what our Dharma is, we don't live it because we're just we're copying other people. So that's the problem. It's like, imagine you go in an exam and you haven't revised, and you sit you're situated next to the cleverest kid, and you think it must be arrangement. So then you decide to just copy their answer paper. And then you come out of the exam hall and you're like, I aced it. I copied his exam paper perfectly. But then when you come out of the exam hall, you don't realize everyone had a different question paper. That's basically what we do in the world. We copy someone else's life. But that's not what you were meant to do. So it takes so much bravery to live your Dharma, because the world is just telling you, do this, do that, get a job, if you haven't done this by 25, if you don't have to, anyway, you know the whole thing. By 30, by 40, then you're a failure. And then it pressures us into just doing something, getting married, or, So the spiritual path requires so much courage. All of us in this room have taken on a path which requires so much courage if you want to do it properly. If you want to just do it traditionally and culturally, then it doesn't require much, because you can just do all the nice things, get prasadam, and do all the other things in life. But if you really want to live a spiritual life and find Krishna, You've got to take a lot of risks. You've got to go against the grain. You've got to challenge everything the world has told you to be. You've got to be strong. You've got to come out your comfort zone. Do you want to do it? Unless you're willing to, Columbus, he said, unless you're willing to sail away from the shore, you can never discover what's on the horizon. But we want both things. Oh, stay in the shore. I want to see. No. You want to see? Go. Then you've got to start taking some risks. So, I mean, I was an incredibly risk-averse person in my life. I was not the one to take risks. Not that I've taken that many risks. But then I started realizing on this path, if I don't take risks, it's not going anywhere, you know. You've got to start being a little bold. Good luck. Thank you so much for your attention, your kindness. Sorry to drag it on a little bit.
Thank you so much. Still,